Hello, everybody. Frank Kenny here. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very special Facebook Live. We're interviewing Tony Russell. Hello, Tony.
Hi, Frank. It's great to be with you again. I always enjoy
Yeah,
our chats.
yeah, me too. Me too. I consider you one of the best in the business when it comes to membership. And boy, you've taken on to write a book. What a project.
It's been a year-long project, and I've enjoyed it. But if you're trying to do a full-time job and write a book at the same time, I found it doesn't work too well. So if you can find a way to break away from your work, it really helps a lot. I was not able to do that.
That's good advice. For those of you watching, I'd love to know where you're watching from, what chamber you're with. Please put that in the comments. And if you have any questions for Tony as we get into this. Tony, would you mind doing a bit of a self-introduction so people can understand who you are?
Sure. So Tony Rossell, I'm a vice president with Marketing General Incorporated. And all of our work is really around membership organizations. We help membership organizations get members, keep members, and grow their membership. So that's our focus. I've been doing this for 30 years. So I thought it was about time to try to capture some of these ideas and the thoughts and interactions and that I've had with people and put them down someplace and in a book. So that was kind of the inspiration of trying to capture what I've learned over 30 years and share it with others.
Fantastic. And I see that we have people chiming in from Hilliard. So hello, Libby, Sheridan, Wyoming, Massachusetts, Minnesota. Who else is watching? Clackamas, Oregon, Albert Lee, Minnesota, I assume. We're going to have people from Canada and the United States watching this here, Tony.
Wonderful.
So for those that don't know, Tony, he's kind of modest in his position in the industry and experience and things of that nature. He's been a speaker a couple of times in our annual Chamber Pros online conference. He's the best I know. There's a lot of other people in the industry, I'm sure, that you've met and have gone through over the past 30 years that you've been helping chambers, associations, membership organizations grow. But and now you've written a book. That's a big deal. So thank you for taking all that knowledge and all that work you've been doing for 30 years to help membership organizations. Now it's in, what is it? Is an Amazon book, right? They can download this.
It's on Amazon. Let me show you a picture so we can get that out of the way. It's called Membership Recruitment, and the long title is Membership Recruitment: How to Grow Recurring Revenue, Reach New Markets, and Advance Your Mission. And that's really fundamentally what membership is about. It's about getting that continuity of annuity value of membership going so that you have a lifetime value stream. It's about reaching new markets, getting new people in who hadn't been connected with you before. And fundamentally, for chambers, for associations, for nonprofits, it's really about accomplishing that mission. That's the heart of it. We want to achieve the mission that our organization is really driven by, and membership is the engine very, very frequently behind that mission.
Fantastic. And for those of you watching, as you're listening to Tony, really listen for words like he uses lifetime value and recurring revenue and things of this nature. That we are so blessed to have a membership-based model because it creates this foundation. And well, let's just jump into your book here, unless you want to add anything to your introduction or what we've covered so far.
No, but I will say, Frank, it's always great talking to you because my sentiments are reflected also towards you. Your work with chambers and your work with membership is outstanding, and it's been just great getting to know you and interact with you and see the content and the way you're serving this community.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure. All right. So what motivated you to put in all these hours? I mean, you're working a full-time job, plus you're writing a book. Why did you do it, Tony?
And you probably experienced this too. I have met such wonderful people in membership organizations. There's people who are committed. They're doing hard work. They're doing the best they can to grow their membership. So a lot of my motivation was to capture what I've learned and share it. And so that was huge. The other thing is that I have a real commitment to membership organizations. Again, whatever type it is, chambers are really serving businesses, helping them sustain themselves through this hard time. They're helping the businesses to grow. Many of my clients are professional associations. And so my goal was really to help organizations like that run successful membership programs. And let me give you an example of one of my clients. One of my clients is the American Nurses Association. So I've worked with them for 10 years. And over that period, we basically doubled their membership. So it's been a very successful group. But it really hit home this last year for me because ANA had built that membership and had that marketing engine established. When the pandemic hit, they were really able to serve nurses and serve their community. They started a webinar series, and that webinar series each time would get about 190,000 nurses coming on board, listening to information on how to save people's lives. And they had people from 100 different countries participating. And so when you see that bringing people together in a membership organization and serving them, helping them, and being there for them in challenging times, which I'm sure a lot of your chambers are experiencing, it's a wonderful feeling. And so I wanted to preserve what I've learned and share what I've learned because I believe in membership organizations and the power they bring to helping people, and getting that material in people's hands was a key thing for me. I don't anticipate making a whole lot of money on this. I think we have $300 in sales so far, but it just came out the other day, so we'll see how it goes.
But as you were talking about the American Nurses Association serving their community, and I think of the chambers, what a blessing it is to a community to have a chamber of commerce that is the organized business community serving the members and the non-members. I mean, a lot of chambers stepped up and said, I don't care if you're not a member, we're going to help you get through this.
Yeah, and you read about that, and it's a wonderful thing. And I commend the chambers across the country, what they're doing to sustain businesses that have been devastated through this time.
All right, well, let's jump into if somebody buys your book, are they going to find that it's been broken into several chapters, or how did you kind of organize it?
Yeah, I have 3 parts to the book, and so it gives people an opportunity to sort of dabble in, jump out wherever they feel most comfortable. The first part of the book, my goal there is to really make the case for membership. You do hear people sort of say, oh, membership doesn't work anymore, that people don't want to join, that organizations don't want to join. And so I really spend the first part of that book really pushing the fact that membership still does work. It's interesting, as we've talked about before, Frank, we each year do benchmarking study, and we have about 700, 800, 1,000 organizations tell us all their membership information. What we found is 11 of the last 12 years, the vast majority of organizations and membership groups are seeing growth. Basically, twice as many groups see growth as see decline. Now, I got to say, this year is going to be different. This is going to be a very challenging year. But the fact is, membership still works. And the point I make in that first part of the book is that the key to growing membership, and the correlation we see between groups that are not growing and growing, is membership recruitment. It's filling that funnel with new members. For the most part, as we look at it year after year, renewal rates, retention rates are pretty steady. You don't see huge fluctuations typically, in retention. People do a good job on that. They invite people to stay with them to renew. But the correlation we see is the groups that are really successful in bringing in new people, bringing new blood into the organization. Those are the ones that are growing. And so the focus of the book is to say, hey, membership still works. Recruitment is the key. And then laying out some of the economic issues that really sustain membership, so you can make a case to your board. You can make a case to your senior level staff of why membership is so important. Lifetime value is a big part of that. There's no other product that you can offer that's going to have a continuity to it, that's going to have a lifetime annuity stream of revenue. We talk about the implications of what happens if an organization is not adding members. What happens if it's not growing, and the problems there. So that's part one. Part two is really the mechanics of running a really good recruitment program, and we can talk more about it. But there's 5 real pillars that we see in getting that membership program up and running and having it be successful that I've seen over 30 years of work. And the third part is the critical nature of innovation, of staying on top of developments, of continuing to push the envelope with new ideas, new opportunities, new products. And I talk a lot about techniques for building innovation into your organization in that third part of the book.
Fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's following me because we are full time, and our mailing address is Texas, and it's nobody in Texas at least is getting mail.
Yeah, I think I sent it. I think I sent it a month ago, and it still hasn't arrived yet. So you'll send to look forward to when you get back home.
For those chambers watching, again, what chamber you're with, where you're watching it from, put it in the comments, please. And then also, do you at your chambers have some kind of systematized membership recruitment process? Or at a lot of chambers, it's just somebody walks in and joins, and that's kind of like that happens automatically, and that's enough. They don't have a salesperson on staff. They don't have really campaigns going. It's just they're allowing people to join, but they're not actively making recruiting people. So I'd like to talk a lot about that through this interview of how to make membership sales actually happen. Before we get to that, Tony, though, I got to post a question here on the group. Somebody is asking, and I don't get to see who this is, but could we order from Tony directly and get the book autographed? So can they reach out to you and get a signed
I'd love to do that. I'm sitting here in one of my spare bedrooms without a mail machine or anything. So unfortunately, that's not probably an option, but it is on Amazon. And like I said, you'll have to probably put most of the title in if you want to get it, because if you just put in my name, I'm probably not going to be the first thing that comes up on Amazon's website. But I'd love to send autographed copies, but it probably is not the best way to do it at this point.
Well, I tell you what, if mine comes autographed, I'll put it up for sale and make some big money.
There you go. Auction it off.
And then, Tony, you mentioned the annual report that you're in charge of this, that your company has put out for about 10 years. What's that called again, and how can chamber people get their hands on that?
That's a great question. So if you go to our website, marketinggeneral.com, you'll see under Knowledge Center a drop-down menu, and you can go to that, and it says reports. And so we have all 12 years of reports there. Obviously, you would want to download the most recent one. And so that's the easiest way to get it. And it's called the Membership Marketing Benchmarking Report.
And I got to tell you, that thing is so valuable to me as coming into the industry. It was kind of like, what's the most effective way to sell? Well, you've done the studies. You show that, it's email, it's newsletters, it's still mailing postcards, it's phone calls, it's word of mouth, and it's all listed in order of what works year by year by year. So it's just 80 pages of that, of what works. So thank you so much for giving that away, to the industry.
Oh, sure. It's free download. It's interesting because we're about to come out the next couple months with the 2021 version, and we have a lot of data of the impact of COVID and the recession on membership organizations. And it has been a really, really challenging year. Just to give you the heads up on the introductory top notes on that, it's been a really challenging year for membership organizations. Here's the good news, though, and this is something that has been really beneficial in doing benchmarking work. What we've seen over the years is that after a disruption like the 2008, 2009 Great Recession, typically, and what we saw very strongly coming out of that was there's a huge rebound in membership. So there's good news ahead. Some of the best years for new member input for recruitment came right after that Great Recession. And I think part of it is people realize, hey, I need a community, I need a network, I need support, I need professional development, I need skill development. And so people are seeking that community and seeking that help. So my theory and my thought is that 2021 is going to see a nice rebound in membership for organizations. People have felt the needs and felt the lack of that connection and lack of that community, and are going to be seeking it out.
Interesting. I think you're right. I think they're going to see a definite rebound. In your 30 years of experience, where you get called into a membership organization and they say, we need to grow the membership, what kind of challenges, and you write about this in the book, right? The challenges that you see? Yeah.
There's two big challenges that I see that I probably a lot of the folks who are listening and maybe be experiencing, and they kind of drive me crazy. So this is my chance to vent a little bit. But number one is, with a lot of organizations, when you talk about recruitment, there's what I call a paralysis of analysis. So instead of actually doing something, instead of actually selling, instead of actually reaching out to prospective members, there's a lot of issues that people raise. Maybe there's, IT issues or bylaws issues or funding issues. And so there's recruitment doesn't take place at an aggressive level. Let me tell you a quick story. One of my friends took a job with a membership organization, and I'd love to do some work with him. He called me in, and he said, I said, so what's the plan? And he said, okay, well, here, I talked to the executive director. Here's our plan. In year one, he wants me to learn the organization and learn the market. And in year two, he wants me to create a plan. And in year three, he wants me to execute the plan. I'm sorry to say, after 18 months, neither the executive director or the membership director were there anymore because nothing had happened with membership. And so that's that analysis and paralysis of analysis of thinking and try and not actually doing. So that's I think one challenge I come across, and I'm curious if some of those who are listening in and watching in today have that frustration where they just can't get the organization moving, turning that battleship to get them moving towards an aggressive recruitment program.
So let's ask the audience, for those chambers out there, you might have a membership committee or a sales committee or, some kind of, you need to increase the membership. Maybe it's in your strategic plan to increase the membership. But for whatever reason, you actually never get around to campaigns and asking for the sale and getting serious, like consistent, steady new members. I bet that's pretty darn common. So you guys, and go ahead, Tony, on our next point. We'll wait for those.
Ask people to answer that. Here's the other one that is a little bit less frustrating, but still a challenge. And that is a board or leadership will sometimes set a goal and they'll say, okay, in 5 years, by 2025, I want to have 5,000 members, or by 2025, I want to have 2,500 members. It's great to have a goal. I have no problems with setting a goal, but then not putting any support behind that. Financially, staffing, resources, planning, and so it falls flat. I was just a year ago, I was called into an organization, and they were trying to sell company memberships. And the board had said, hey, we have 3,700 companies now. We want to get up to 4,500. And so that's our goal. That's our vision. 1 year, we're going to do that. And what they found is their membership actually went down by 100. And so they called me in and said, what's wrong? Why didn't this happen? And I said, well, what did you do? And they said, well, we didn't do anything. And I said, well, it's great to have these aspirational goals. It's great to say, hey, we're gonna grow membership, we're gonna achieve this, but not putting behind that the staff, the resources, the funding, the expertise, the knowledge, it's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. And you've all heard the line, if every member gets another member, we'll double our membership. Well, even that has to have planning and staff and money behind it. So those are the two things that I really find challenging, Frank, in getting things started, is that paralysis of analysis or these aspirational goals that don't have anything behind them to support them.
So for you chambers watching this, have you had it to where the board says, all right, we're going to, increase membership by 25%. And then they either don't support you in doing that with a staff person that knows how to sell or digital marketing so that you can use marketing automation, or maybe the board says, oh yeah, we'll call people and we'll recruit 10 people each. It'll be easy. And of course they never do it. So it can be really frustrating on staff, can't it, Tony?
Yeah, it is. It is frustrating, and those, it's sad because there's a lot of value that these membership organizations have, incredible value. And one of the things the example I use is not having those efforts for recruitment it's kind of like working all day long to have to cook and create a wonderful meal for a dinner party. And so you have it all done, and there's the appetizers, there's the main course, there's the wines, everything's all set. And then you realize, oh, I forgot to invite my guests. And that's kind of what I find with membership organizations. They've created wonderful value. There's content, there's resources, there's ways to help organizations. But because they don't execute that recruitment, they're not bringing people in to access that. And and that's obviously a challenge. And so those two impediments are the things that I see holding back, that process of getting that recruitment effort going.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears and talk about that. But first, I just want to share this little comment here. Ordered on Amazon, coming tomorrow. So you've now made $310, Tony.
There we go.
Yeah,
well,
it's
great.
a labor of love. I don't know if you know Chris Mead from ACCE. Have you ever came across him, Tony?
I have not, no.
He wrote the book The History of Chambers, hundreds of pages long, 7 years of research, 2 hours every morning for 7 years or whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't make any money from that. It's just a labor of love. And same with
It is. And that's my motivation. My hope is that folks can get an idea from it that they can implement that's going to really make a difference in their organization.
Okay. All right. So a membership organization calls you in. What's kind of the plan, or what did you put in the book as how to get this going?
Okay. So once we've overcome that impediment of this aspirational goal or, this paralysis of analysis, really a plan needs to be, you need to have a plan, and it's good to have a goal. So I'm not saying that that's not the case. In fact, it's interesting. Philip Kotler, who's a well-known marketing author and professor, he says, an awful lot of organizations can get their marketing plan onto one piece of paper. And I'm an advocate of that. It doesn't need to be a book. It doesn't need to be an encyclopedia. It can be a pretty simple document that lays out where you want to go and what the key components are for that. And there's basically 5 pillars. And I'll walk you through those 5 pillars that need to be part of the plan. But fundamentally, one of the things I'm a big advocate for is a concept called ready, fire, aim. And again, that sort of speaks to just getting stuff going, trying some things, getting some feedback, and then learning from that, and then optimizing. But let me walk you through some of these pillars, Frank, and again, I want to keep it simple because the critical thing is do something. But number one is really focus on what's your target market? Who are you trying to reach? Is it geographically based? Is it industry based? Is it based on people you have had interaction with in your database and you're holding in your database? But the greatest marketing efforts ever created presented to the wrong person don't work. A not very good marketing effort presented to the right person has a chance of working. And so really focusing on who those best candidates are for membership and understanding who they are is really important. A technique in that is really building awareness. So a lot of people will use events or content to attract people to opt in, to receiving information from you, and then you can be building that relationship. You can engage that individual, that company, that organization, and build that relationship. So number one is defining a target market. Who do you want to reach? And ideally getting those prospects into your database through a list acquisition, through a database acquisition, or through some kind of content offer to start that engagement. That's number one.
Let me interrupt you just for a quick second.
Yeah.
For those of you watching, if you have questions for Tony as he goes through these things, I'll try to get him in front of Tony while we have him here. All right. So I loved what you said there is like, you might have the best marketing campaign in the world, but if you pitch it at the wrong person, it'll fall flat.
Yeah.
But if you have like something that's not all that great, but at least you get it in front of the right person, that can work.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's selling hot traffic versus cold traffic. I mean, if you
Yeah.
try to sell somebody with no money, they can't buy. So.
Right. Absolutely right. I mean, you don't want to sell, ice cream or to Eskimos or snowballs to Eskimos or whatever it might be. So that's number one. And in marketing, they have what they call a 40-40-20 rule. 40% of your response is driven by who you go to. 40% is what you offer, the offer you put in front of people, and 20% is the message. So number two is your offer or incentive. And here's a place where I get a lot of pushback from organizations and from people, but I'm gonna keep on saying what we found, and that is almost any company can join your chamber at any time. If they call you up and say, hey, I really want to join, here's my credit card, you'll take them. If you can join through the website, they can do that 24/7. So there's an inertia. There's not an urgency. People don't need to join today. And so a critical piece in recruitment efforts, when you're going to try to aggressively go out and recruit members, is having an incentive, is having some reason to act now. We found that one of the best incentives is a discount, for a new member discount. And people will say, well, if you give a discount, they won't renew. We've done longitudinal data analysis where we've done, some people received an offer of just join, full price. Some people got a discount. Obviously, the discount group did better on the front end. But we've looked at that at renewals and the number of members 2 years later, 3 years later, and groups that brought someone in on a discount still have more members and still have more revenue than the group that you tried to get with at full price. So whether it's a discount, whether it's a couple extra months for free, whether it's tickets to an event, whether it's a product savings, it's really important to really think through, what's the deal? What's the special incentive that I can offer to someone to act now? Because otherwise they can put off forever joining. It's interesting. You can't go into a store or be on a website or any place without some kind of a special offer being presented to you. And I always say to people, companies aren't doing sales and discounts because they like giving money away. Companies are doing it because it works. They know that it's going to incentivize people to make a decision, make a buying decision then and now. And so I get pushback. People are afraid of those sometimes, but I'm still a big advocate. And I think all the data I see says a properly defined special offer will empower better membership recruitment. And I'm going to talk through some analysis things a little bit later, because there's obviously some parameters and some boundaries on that.
Well, I think you've made a huge point there, that if you can join today, tomorrow, next week, or next month, and everything about that is exactly the same, they'll procrastinate, because that's what people do. They don't like to spend money. They'll get to it later, and they never do. So you got to have some kind of scarcity, something that, like a bonus that will be taken away, or a discount that'll go away, or a discount they get if they act now. But without that, you're making it so hard. I think of mattress companies. They always have a President's Day sale. All of a sudden they decide on that day that their mattress isn't comfortable.
Right.
They just need a reason to buy now. They get 10 or 20% off if they buy on President's Day weekend. And it just works. So chambers out there, what are you doing to make people purchase now? I know when I was running my chamber, when we were closing up the membership directory, and it was like final call, if you want to be in the directory, we get a flood of new members. And it was just that, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right on target with that. Yeah, I will be curious what people are trying and what they're finding successful, because that's where creativity comes in. There's always a different way of doing it, a different way of presenting it, and you see what works. And if it doesn't work, you get rid of it. And if it does work, you keep on doing it.
It's okay to make a mistake, or it's okay to throw something against the wall that doesn't work?
It sure is. And that's, I'll get to that fifth pillar, is testing and tracking and measuring and analysis, because if you're not doing that, you're sub-optimizing any marketing you're doing.
Fantastic. All right, what's your third pillar?
Number 3 is channels. It's basically thinking through how you're going to reach people, and what communication channels you're going to use. And here's the challenge I've seen of late. Number 1 is a lot of groups that we've worked with that base their recruitment on events. So come to my meeting and you'll get a free membership, or come to my meeting and we'll convince you to join. With the pandemic, obviously, those face-to-face meetings are obviously certainly diminished and maybe non-existent. So those groups have had a particularly hard time with membership over the last year, because that system isn't working anymore. The other thing that a lot of groups do is they're very, very reliant on email, which is a great tool for recruitment. Problem is, if you're pounding people with email, and we've all seen this, your open rates go down, your click-through rates go down, and ultimately your response rate goes down. You wear that list out. So thinking through what are the channels that I can use to recruit members is really important. And one of the things that we advocate, and I talk about in the book, is moving to an omni-channel marketing platform. Instead of being relying just on a meeting to get people to join or pounding people with email, think through a broader array of channels. So digital marketing has been a huge addition. When I started in this business, obviously it didn't exist. I would say with many organizations now, paid digital ads that can be targeted geographically, can be targeted by industry, can be targeted very precisely, are hugely beneficial and bringing people to your website, getting them to accept a content offer, sign up, become a member. So those are something that work really well. And there's lots of different varieties you can do with digital ads now. You can do lookalike audiences, so you can show ads to people who look just like your members. You can load up your prospects and show ads to people, to those non-member prospects. So digital is really powerful. Telemarketing, personal sales, but thinking in terms of using multiple channels instead of just relying on a single channel is really important. What we find is, in testing, is we'll do tests where we'll say, okay, we're just going to do an email, or we're just going to do a sales call, we're just going to do a mail piece. What we found is that as you combine those touches to an individual, to a company, there's an amplification of response. You need those multiple channels and not be sole channel reliant. And so that's another important piece of this is to build out those communication channels. And if you think about it, people respond to different things. Some people won't lift up the phone. Some people trash the mail as soon as it comes to the house. Some people, don't open their emails. But if there's some way, if one of those ways works and you can get through to the person, then you have an opportunity to get a new member.
I've seen studies from Facebook where they have done, their big expensive studies that if somebody gets an email on a product, plus they see the Facebook ad on the product, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, 1 + 1 = 3.
You're absolutely right.
There's something funny there about the human psychology that they're seeing it in multiple places, and with some scarcity and maybe a guarantee, now you got a sale.
Well, the part of the issue is too, and we're contributing to it obviously, but life is, you've got to do these things. There's so much static out there that to get through your message through, it can't be just a solo effort. I meet with groups that say we do our membership campaign in January. I said, okay, well, what do you do in February, March, April, May? Oh, we're focused on keeping our members then. Well, it needs to be multiple channel, and it needs to be an ongoing effort. It can't just be something you do once a year.
Maybe, and we only have you for a little while longer, so I don't want to ask too many questions here, but this one, not a lot of chambers are doing digital marketing. I think they look at it as an expense rather than a return on investment. But, you talk about lifetime value of a member. Heck, if you can recruit a $200 member, yeah, you spent $20-30 on your Facebook ads, but they're going to be a member for 3 years. You're getting $600 back for $30. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I certainly can. Well, first of all, I will say, in the broader context, we're finding digital marketing is the cheapest way to get a member. And that would involve retargeting. Someone comes to your website for whatever purpose, to find out about an event, to get a piece of information. Retargeting will continue to show them ads as they leave for the next 30 days or so. So, and the other thing about digital is, properly set up, it's highly measurable and highly trackable. So you can see what ads people engaged in, what ads, and follow them all the way through, if they can sign up online, to that thank you page. So you can really calculate clean ROI on that with a properly set up program. So it might be $15 to get a $200 member. It might be $100 to get a $200 member. But then you can just run the economics and say, does that make sense for my organization? Generally speaking, people can spend a lot more to get a member than they think, because they're going to be acquiring that lifetime value. They're going to be acquiring non-dues revenue of additional purchases, and they're going to be accessing that person as a volunteer, as a contributor, as a networker, as an advocate. So investing in recruitment is probably, it's a long-term payout, but it's probably one of the best investments a membership organization can make.
So for those of you watching, I'd love to know, have you ever computed what a lifetime value of your average member is? And I think that you'll find that it's a big number. It's 600, 800, 1,000, 2,000, or even more, because they stay a long time in the industry.
And in the book, Frank, I have all the calculations to calculate lifetime value, to calculate steady state, to calculate maximum acquisition cost, to calculate renewal rate. So understanding those economic foundations and having the formula in front of you and an explanation of how it works, I think is a benefit to any membership organization.
Fantastic. Good stuff. All right. So pillar number 4, creating messages on why a member should join. What's that about? I think that'll be valuable.
Yeah. So that's really creating your value proposition, really understanding your value proposition. What motivates someone to write that check? What's the value that you're going to deliver that is so compelling to them that they have to make that decision? You can get that, you can uncover that certainly as you look at your own materials and look at your staff and look at the members you have. So you can do market research and try to understand what that is. One of the things I find though is just doing a test with a variety of value propositions or how you present that value proposition in emails and just see which one works best. What is that motivation? What causes someone to write a check? But really defining that value proposition is really critical. And then the other aspect on the whole messaging side is being sure that in any marketing piece you have a clear call to action. A lot of times you'll see promotions and someone will go out with a promotion that says, our organization has been here since 1912. We serve members and give them this, and that. And there's not a strong offer to say do something now, and there's not a call to action that says act now. So always having that close, whether it's on the phone or an email or whatever, having that clean call to action is really important also.
So you'd say that on pretty much all your marketing pieces, there should be some kind of call to action, because people really respond when you tell them what to do, they do it.
Yeah, when someone gets any kind of communication, the first question is, what is this? And the second question is, what do they want me to do? We're pretty good at telling what this is, that, hey, here's all this stuff we can give you. We're not always as good at saying, hey, now here's what you need to do to access this, to get this. And a call to action can be very simple. I have a lot of sample call to actions in the book of what's worked well, both for membership organizations, but for all companies.
Fantastic. Any questions for Tony? Go ahead and put that in the thread. Going into the future, testing, tracking, and analysis.
Yeah.
So you can't rest on your laurels, huh?
No. Well, there's a couple elements of that. First of all, in any marketing you do, it's important to test. We see huge variance in response to A versus B. So setting up A/B testing is really critical. Whether it's an email, whether it's a phone script, whether it's a sales presentation, see what works. Abandon what doesn't work. Repackage and reuse what does work. So that's a fundamental of marketing that a lot of organizations struggle with, and because of that, they're suboptimizing that. And so you can test market segments. What segment is most responsive? You can test offers. What offer works the best? You can test what channel am I getting the best ROI on? You can test what message is working the most effectively. But building a test into every marketing effort you do is important. But jumping forward into the future, one of the things I've put in the book and really focused on is the importance of innovation and keeping things fresh. And so there's a lot of different tools for that innovation that I talk through. But a couple of them are, I think it's really important to get a big picture of the world. It's important to understand what's going on with other organizations and learning from them and gaining insight. So whether it's talking to other organizations, if it's talking to someone like with you, Frank, who's had experiences across the board with dozens and probably hundreds of chambers, getting someone who knows what's going on and getting their insight and their input, so you're not reinventing the wheel, is I think a critical part of innovation. The second thing that I'm finding is really important in innovation is and the two things I'm seeing working are, one is product line extension, and the second area is market expansion. So continually thinking, okay, how can I serve the market better? And we've talked about this in previous conversations. Henry Ford came out with the Model T, and everything had to be exactly the same. And someone said, "Hey, I'd like a different color." And he said, "You can have any color you want as long as it's black, because black paint dried faster." GM came out with a variety of colors, and that's where they started taking market share. A lot of us in our membership are locked into a black Ford membership that this is what it is, take it or leave it. And one of the things we found that's worked really well is creating a tiered structure, a tiered membership. So one of the clients we have, for instance, is focused on the aviation industry, and they have aviation client organizations as companies as members. One of the things they did is they have a baseline membership, but what they did is on top of that, they created what they call a leadership council. And so you can join as a baseline member, but you can also pay between $10,000 and $50,000 to be on their leadership council. And in a couple of years, they got 100 members to upgrade or become part of that leadership council, and that's $1 million in revenue. So thinking in terms of, can I change my membership structure to make it more inviting? Is there a low level that can bring in people initially so I get them connected and I can upgrade them over time? So that's an innovation strategy. Another is market expansion. Thinking in terms of who else can I reach out to beyond the core market that I'm serving now. In the association world, I use AARP as an example for that. They started out as the National Retired Teachers Association. They had about 50,000 members. In the 1950s, they switched to the American Association for Retired People, and then they got a lot more members, and they lowered the age and got more and more members. There are 38 million members now. So thinking in terms of how can I reach new constituencies that I haven't tapped into before and provide value to them is another innovation strategy. The basic message is you can't just sit back and stay the same. You have to continue to change your product offerings, who you're serving, how you're reaching people. I just finished reading Thomas Edison's biography. You know how many experiments he did to find the right filament for the light bulb?
Thousands, I'm guessing.
5,000. And so we need to bring that experimental mentality into our membership organization of trying stuff, that ready, fire, aim, trying something new, evaluating it, seeing if it works, and then moving on to something else. So part of the purpose of this book is to share with people, here's all the things people have tried. Some have worked, some haven't worked. Give it a try and see what will work with your organization.
Here's a question that came in, Tony, and your experience might be able to help them. We struggle with minority involvement in our area. Any suggestions for approaching areas where there may be cultural differences? We're trying to form a minority council. Any direction, advice there? How do you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's such an important question in our day and age of reaching different constituencies, whether it's women, people of color. Yeah, we've done a good deal of work in that. A couple things we've learned is that make sure that you display that diversity in any of the marketing initiatives you have is one thing. Also, trying to drill down on what the challenges are. One of the groups we work with is involved in certification of people, and as we've researched it, women we've had a challenge getting women to get certified. And one of the things we found is that there's a desire in women that came back in our research to have mentors and to study and work towards certification as a group, whereas men seem to be a little bit more lone wolf in that. So one of the things we're trying to do is create those mentor relationships and create those small group relationships. So that's something we're working with in improving the number of women participation. But I think those same things would work in other underrepresented groups that you can focus on. But I really commend you for that initiative. I think that's wonderful that you're focused on that.
Excellent. Well, Tony, a couple things. How again can people get their hands on your brand new book?
All right, so it's on Amazon. It's Kindle or paperback. It's called Membership Recruitment: How to Grow Your Recurring Revenue. You probably have to put most of that title in if you want to get it, because it doesn't show up right away on Amazon. But again, my hope is that you'll be able to take some nuggets out of that you can apply that will really help your organization to get more members.
Great. And did I fail to ask you anything that you wanted to share today?
No, I think you did a great job, and I really appreciate people listening in and watching. I hope you found it a help today.
Well, it's amazing, Tony. You made so many killer points. I hope people go back and watch it again, because there's nugget after nugget after nugget in there for Chambers. So take care. Be well.
All right. Hey, thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody.